What's up, guys? This is Josh, also known as Casket 13. Um, we're going to do a Halloween edition. Not doing new comics with this one, just doing a top 10 countdown for the best horror comics of the last few months. Just because, cool Halloween treat and putting this out a couple days before Halloween. So, start with a couple honorable mentions. New Incredible Hulk series. This is issue 5. I've read 1 through 3 so far. I missed 4, so I need to pick that up to read it. This one, as even you can tell just from the cover right here, it's the new Hulk series is really graphic and has a lot to do with like the monster side of the Hulk, and him and Banner aren't seeing eye to eye anymore. Banner tried to get rid of the Hulk again, and so the Hulk is pretty much when he transforms, him and Banner are two separate entities again. They're not working together at all. And it's been a really interesting series so far. The first 3 issues have been gruesome, gory, what you'd expect from like a monster style Hulk show. So yeah, that's one of my honorable mentions. Another honorable mention from Marvel as well is Crypt of Shadows. It just came out a couple weeks ago. This is a kind of a nod to like creep show style where it's telling different stories, and you can see each of these heroes and kind of their own stories. I wasn't super impressed with them. None of them were super like amazing stories. They were just fun, So those are my 2 honorable mentions. Now we'll go into top 10. We'll start with number 10, which is The Midnight Show from Dark Horse Comics. Midnight Show is about a filmmaker from the old monster era, like in the 50s, 60s, maybe even, I guess, 30s, 40s, when they did like the big monster movies, when you had Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, Wolfman, and the director of the story has a movie that he was filming called The God of Monsters, and there was a fire on set and the movie got interrupted. Director kind of disappears, and the film supposedly was never finished, and this pretty much picks up with them at a premiere for the show, for the movie. They have like polished it, put it back together, the film, and edited it, and they finished it, and so they're showing it for a bunch of kids in this town, and they're doing a big movie premiere, having celebrities and stuff, and as the movie plays, the monsters from like the different style, like I said, like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, all these monsters actually come to life, and they're coming out in this town and killing people and rummaging the town. So you get a little bit into it, it just kind of gives you a taste of it. So I'll be curious to read issue 2. So yeah, that's The Midnight Show at number 10. At number 9 is a kind of a fun one. I wouldn't say it's super horror, but I mean, obviously Stranger Things. You have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Stranger Things crossover. You have the kids go on a field trip with their science teacher to New York, and of course turtles are there, and you have Stranger Things happening, and they do a good element of mixing the turtles and the Stranger Things kids, because you have some alien stuff in Turtles as well, because you have a Krang, who is like an alien who Shredder works with in a lot of the old Turtle stuff, and so Krang is involved in this. You have, obviously, you see on this, you have the Mind Flayer from Stranger Things, and a few others. You have the Demogorgon and other creatures. So it was a really fun read. The kids' interactions with the turtles were pretty hilarious. You get a cool glimpse of Casey and April in this last issue of the series, issue 4, which is a 4-part series, but this is a really fun series. And yeah, just enjoy seeing all the turtle characters. Raphael is always my favorite, so it's always fun with him. All right, and that was number 9. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover with Stranger Things. All right, number 8 is we just had issue 1 of this, is Spine Tingling Spider-Man. It's a weird one. They did this as a web series for a while, and then compiled the web series and put them into a issue 0, which I actually haven't read yet, so I'm not quite sure. This still is a good pickup from issue 1, but I do want to pick up issue 0 to get all the backstory. But it is Spider-Man pretty much coming home from fighting a clone of himself. It's like a monster version of himself. Wakes up, and everything in the world is different. Nobody knows it's him. Nobody knows who he is. Like, Aunt May is there. She doesn't know who he is. And as he starts to unravel the mystery, he starts to see these just horrible creatures. So you see some crazy monsters. It's definitely, I guess, spine-tingling is the proper word for it. So it's a pretty cool horror for Spider-Man. It's not what you would expect from a Spider-Man comic. Still kind of has Peter's... At the beginning, you have Peter's quips when he's Spider-Man, but he also does not have his powers. So he discovers that. And it's a good one. It's definitely interesting enough to keep me into issue 2. So I'll be curious to see how that goes. So that one, Spine-Tingling Spider-Man, is at spot 8. Spot 7 is this is just straight up, it's Universal Monsters Dracula by Image Comics. James Tynion wrote it, who writes Something's Killing the Children. He's good at writing horror. He knows the genre, he likes it a lot, and even though he technically did the script for this book is taken from the Universal Monsters story of Dracula. Picks up with Renfield being interviewed after the voyage of Dracula over to, I guess, they're in England, from, I guess, Transylvania, and you just you get to see Dracula and it's very interesting. Actually, no, I'm gonna take it out and just give you guys a view. I want to do this more often anyways, to give you guys some of the art. The art in this comic is pretty amazing. It's just very dirty and kind of gritty. There's the first page, and some of the splash pages with Dracula are just very interesting. The cover actually kind of depicts that pretty good. And then when you get the actual Cuban characters, it's very old-timey, kind of gritty, like you would expect from the original Dracula stories. So it's a really good read. There is, and just seeing Dracula, man, everything in this book, seeing Dracula do this hypnotism thing, you get a reveal into that, and you see some werewolves, because of course werewolves were Dracula's guards when he slept. So it's a really good, really cool issue. It's like I said, it's nothing revolutionizing or anything super different from Dracula. Like I said, it's almost like I said, James Tynion just took the Dracula story and wrote it his way, but really, I wouldn't even say he wrote it his way. He just kind of follows, not to a T, but follows pretty close to the original Dracula script. So it's a really good read. It was fun. And of course, Dracula is one of the most classic horror movie monsters. So that's why it makes it spotted number 7. Number 6 is Tenement. Tenement is from a group of series of novels called the Bone Orchard Mythos, and they pretty much as a group of people that got together, and they wanted to tell horror stories in different mediums. And so when the first story came out, it was actually in a graphic novel form. They never released it as individual comics. They just released it as a full graphic novel. And they did that, and then they started releasing single issues. But they've said they wanted to do play with other things, even besides comics, I guess. So we'll see if they go into book territory, do a novel for something. But Tenement is their third story they've done, and this is single issues. I think this one's one of their biggest. I think it's 10 issues. They're on issue 5 right now, and it's about a housing development, an apartment complex of a bunch of tenants, and one of the people die, and they have a very interesting trying to, you get each tenant and their kind of life of what's going on with their world, and then one of the main characters, a kid, talks to one of this older man tenant, and he kind of seems like he sets everything in motion with his death, and they almost kind of get pulled into this Lovecraftian world where they're trapped inside the apartment complex, and there's just multiple layers upon layers of just craziness. And the little kid seems like more and more he kind of is the guide for everybody and understands a little bit what's going on. So it's a very fun read. Once again, another comic that's drawn it almost reminds me of the video games that they've been doing a lot of recently, like the kind of like not quite live action, but the motion capture video games where they get people's likeness, the actors and stuff. Um, it's kind of like that. It reminds me very much where they just kind of almost use characters' likenesses. It just pops kind of like very almost CG off the page. It's very weird. It's hard to explain, but the shading and stuff, it just kind of has a almost a Scanner Darkly feel to it. If you've ever seen that movie with Keanu Reeves, that was a really interesting, weird movie. And it just kind of has that kind of weird. The drawing style is almost just it's weird enough to add to the just the craziness of the story and Tenement. And like I said, I really enjoyed it. So that's why it fits at number 6. So let's see. Going into the top 5. R.L. Stine. What can you say about R.L. Stine? If you're my age or even a little bit younger, you know the Goosebumps stories. Goosebumps were great. They were fun. You know, they were right up there with me. I was more of a Are You Afraid of the Dark kid? Because I felt like they were, even though they were geared towards my age at the time, they were a lot more scary stories. So, but this is Stuff of Nightmares, written by R.L. Stine. He did a series of this before. This is technically I think the second go of it. And they're like one-shot stories. I think the original one might have been a full run of a couple different issues, but I'm not sure. Haven't really dived into it. I just picked up this one. And this one's Stuff of Nightmares, Red Murder. And it is funny, similar to number 10 on the list, Midnight Show. It is this one takes place at a comic convention for it's like a horror convention actually for movie called The Red Murder, and in there one of the people cosplaying as the killer, the Red Murderer from the story, starts murdering people, and it goes into this big murder mystery and stuff, and it's really fun. It's gory, it's bloody, it's what you expect from a book called Stuff of Nightmares and the subtitle Red Murder, but it's a really good read. And the next one actually comes out in December, and it's going to be Christmas themed, so that should be really fun. But yeah, this one definitely was really. I mean, it's just a cut above the rest, no pun intended, and that's why I made it to number 5. And that's from Boom Studios, by the way. Should have been kind of mentioned in the studios. So we have a couple right now. We have. Just to kind of get a count, we have one Dark Horse, one IDW, one Marvel, 2 Image, and a Boom Studios for the different comic companies who made these. Doesn't really matter, just kind of tossing it out there. All right, and number 4 spot is Creepshow. This is the second run of Creepshow they've done recently. They did a run last year of 5 issues. I have those. I did not get a chance to read them. I pretty much was one of those where I got them. I bought them all together because I had missed the initial run of them, and a lot of times, you know, I get when I get comics every week, try to keep up with those and read them. Sometimes when I get older comics to backlog, I just have to wait and go back and read them. But I have read issue 1 and 2 of the new run that's coming out this year, and especially issue 2. Issue 1 was good. It definitely brought me back to the feel of the of Creepshow, but this issue 2. With the creepers puns and just the stories, this brought me right back to Stephen King and George A. Romero's original Creepshow movie. It was amazing. It was a really good read. It was actually tough between the top 5. So that's why, like I said, this one made it to 4. It got pushed back just a little bit by a few of the others. But this was awesome. If you're a fan of the Creepshow TV show, which has been out, I think they're in their 4th or 5th season. It's been great. And the comics are no exception. They grab the feel of, like I said, the original Creepshow movie. And it's just, I was a big fan of that. Like I said, Stephen King and George A. Romero writing together, like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. So, Creepshow makes the number 4 spot. Number 3. This one popped out of nowhere for me. I just happened to read the title at the comic shop and see the cover, and it looked weird. And then I had a talk with a couple people describing this comic, and I was sold. So this is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. This is I don't even know how to explain it. I kind of want to like, man, not spoil stuff from these. I'm trying to just kind of give a quick overview of them, but this is man, the Bernstein Bears, or Berenstein Bears, however you want to say them. If it was a horror story. That's all I can say is you follow this bear in a world full of creatures who walk and talk like humans, and she owns a carpenter shop, or like the wood shop in town, and she lives in a small town. And the first half of the book is pretty much just like, it reads like a kid's book. You're seeing how happy the town is and how much she loves her job and stuff. And then it slowly devolves from there, because you start realizing that she is a murderer, and she goes to the big city outside of her town because she doesn't want anybody knowing about her. It's very I wouldn't even call it Dexterish, because she's killing good people. She just picks at random and kills so she can't get caught. And by the end of the book, somebody gets murdered in her town, and it's not her that does it. And so she starts to like get the fear of like, if people start barking up the wrong tree, they can find out that I'm doing all this stuff. And it's a wild ride. It's graphic, but it's just so funny seeing like the kids' side of a story at the beginning. And like I said, like, I would be afraid. I mean, obviously the cover kind of, thankfully probably does not lure kids in. But if you were to just flip over the first couple, like maybe 10 pages of the issue and let a kid read it, and then cut them off, like they would be satisfied with as a kid's story, and not realizing that it takes this dark turn. So it was just kind of an interesting like way to do it. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm ready for issue 2. So I think it comes out sometime in November. So I'll be excited to pick that up. So that made my number 3. Number 2 is no surprise. Number 2 is, speaking of James Tynion, Something's Killing the Children. I mentioned that earlier. This to me is, man, from reading, I have not caught up. This is actually, they're on issue 34 right now, and I'm only through issue 20. I have 1 through 30 in graphic novels, and I have some of the single issues as well. Been trying to piece together the whole series in single issues. Missing obviously number 1, because this is a huge book and a huge series. It got picked up by Netflix. Hopefully it comes out in the next couple years. They've been kind of like holding on to it tight, not really releasing a lot of information. We don't know any of the actors or actresses who are playing the characters yet. So, but it's just a great story. Once again, we'll just give you a little rundown. Pretty much, monsters exist. Kids can see them, adults can't. And this character named Erica Slaughter comes into town, and she's a monster hunter, pretty much. And she gets up with the main kid, who's come face to face with one of the monsters, and is trying to get information from him so she could pretty much kill the monsters. And it goes from there, dives deeper, gets some of Erica's backstory later on and stuff like that. But it's just been a really, really, really good read. I'm excited to pick up more. I've been kind of slow, like trying to slow read it, just because I don't want to catch up, because it's such a good story. And then when I catch up to 34, I'm going to be super like anxious to get to 35, which, I mean, that's part of comics, catching up and waiting that month to month wait, I really, the people think now that waiting, like a week for a TV show episode is bad. Waiting month to month for comics can be brutal sometimes, especially when they're ongoing, like this one. Like I said, is issue 34. So you picture, if they came out every month, that's 34 months, and it hasn't. Sometimes they skip a month or even 2 to give the writers time to catch up, because sometimes the writers, like James Tynion, once again, he was doing Dracula. He's done a lot of horror books for Boom Studios, and I think he moved over to, I think he's done some Image stuff too. But yeah, so this is just Something's Killing the Children is going to be my number 2. It only didn't take the number 1 spot for certain reasons, which you'll see. So Something's Killing the Children is number 2 from Boom Studios. And my number 1, which is probably no surprise after the hype of my last video. Number one is Kill Your Darlings. This is issue 2. The Kill Your Darlings is just, it's such a, I kind of broke it down in one of the last videos, but it's such an interesting, it's not only, it just does such a good job of covering a lot of different mediums, because, or a lot of different, not mediums, but a lot of different, like, just feelings. You have, like, the main character, Rose, you have her, like, playing in this pretend world she's created with her stuffed animals, and it kind of does a really good job of bringing you back to that feel when you were a kid. I mean, like, if you were a kid that played with stuffed animals or had, anything like that as a kid, which most of us did, it brings you back to that feel and just how fun it is. And, but then you also see, her mom's a single mother, trying to raise her, daughter working 2 or 3 jobs. So you kind of get that feel if you've lived through that part of, if you've had that life. If you haven't, it still it does a really good job of just diving into it to make you understand it. And you see she's not really an outcast at school, but she's also not the popular kid at all. So a lot of us have probably been there in that sense, where you're just kind of existing in school. You're not, like, popular, but you're not, super down the totem pole. So it's really interesting. Then, of course, you have the horror elements at the end, where it just kind of reveals that, like, her imaginary world is real, and there's this creature in it that has pretty much destroyed her imaginary world, and it causes, peril in her real world as well. And it's interesting that the second issue picks up with a big time jump from her being, I don't know the exact age, I'm going to say probably like 7, 8 years old, to probably in her, like, early teens, maybe a little bit earlier or later in her teens. And it's got some cool revelations in the story that you find out in issue 2, because issue 1 kind of leaves you hanging enough to where you're not quite sure of what is real from her fantasy world, and if it's just all fake, if it's in her mind something, or if it's just interesting. So I can't express enough how great this comic's been. And issue 2 just kept it going. So I'm super excited in November to pick up issue 3. There's not much more to say about this. So, yep, Something's Killing Children. Kill Your Darlings takes the number 1 spot for my top horror comic for this year. And once again, this is not by any means the end-all be-all list for horror comics. There's a lot more. I could just trying to look for the top 10 that I enjoyed the most. I found like I could have had probably 20 more on the list, and I enjoyed them all. So, but if you want some good horror stuff to read, I'd recommend picking these up. Speaking of Kill Your Darlings, with it being number 1, and obviously you guys know, I have the contest going on to, if you just like, comment, subscribe on, it was my previous video, but I'm also going to extend it over this video. It's going to run through pretty much midnight on Halloween night. You just gotta, like, comment, subscribe on the video, and I will randomly choose somebody that does all 3 of those things, and they will get a free copy of Kill Your Darlings. And as long as it's in the US, I will ship the comic to you guys. And actually, just to keep the contest, like, fresh and going, and just because, like, I want people to experience this book, I want to get it out there for people. I am also going to throw a copy of Kill Your Darlings issue 2 in. So not only do you get issue 1, but you get issue 2. So 2 copies. I mean, they're, cover price for these comics is $4. So you're getting, 2 comics, $8 worth of comics, for free. And the other thing is, like I said, you're getting a continuing story, and you never know if the book ever were to get picked up by a studio or made into a movie. This is what the comics game is about. People pick these things up a lot of times. You have people. I love reading my comics, but there's always that hope that you just have the comic that explodes in price. And I think this comic could be a great transition to a TV show, Netflix show, whatever. So yeah, and this is the first printings of issue 1 and 2. So if anything were to ever happen, you got these. So like I said, guys, I appreciate you for taking this long journey with me. This is probably like a 20-minute video, so sorry for that. Hopefully you made it all the way to the end. And if not, thanks for, you're not going to hear this, but thanks for making it as far as you did. Thanks for giving it a watch. Hopefully you like, subscribe. And if you want to, like I said, do all three of those, like, subscribe, comment, you'll have a shot at the Kill Your Darlings books. So with that, guys, I appreciate it. Happy Halloween for everybody who celebrates. And if you don't, happy October, end of October. So thanks again, guys, for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.